Hello, my name is Stephanie. Welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. This channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes, that you find some inspiration along the way. We are on episode 59. It is, we're wrapping up the end of May, year 2021. There are 2 weeks left of school. I have 2 young children and we have been distance learning since March 2020 and we're pretty excited about summer. Not that we have big plans, but just to not have our days run by a timer and have a little more freedom in our day as far as what is going on when. Welcome if you are new here, and welcome back if you are coming back to join me. I really like having this space to share more about my makes, and hopefully some of what I talk about inspires you to find joy and creativity in your everyday life. Last time, so in episode 58, I touched briefly, very briefly, on Asian American Pacific Islander Month. There is so much more than I could sit down and talk about in one setting, and I think that's kind of the point, is that topics highlighting different cultures and heritages and just talking about like racism and anti-racism and matters of representation don't happen in one conversation. Like, these are things that should be addressed on a day-to-day level, I guess. Like, my thing is, if you haven't watched that episode, I would love it if you checked it out. If you have watched it, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope it inspires you to look at the choices and the conversations that you have or don't have, and maybe think of ways that you might want to explore those things further or differently. And yeah, so some things that I realized that in my like, I don't know, feel to like get that information out, I left out some things that I maybe want to kind of fill in the blanks today. I did not mention my own heritage. So I am born in the United States to parents who immigrated from Taiwan. And so my experiences as a child born in the US to immigrant parents would be different than, let's say, somebody who immigrated here to the United States as a young child, even if they did come from Taiwan. Like, all our experiences can be so different. But yes, so I have been raised to be very proud of my heritage and to feel connected, and my languages growing up were Taiwanese, Mandarin, and English. I do not speak Taiwanese and Mandarin fluently. I can understand more than I can speak it, but I can communicate well enough with my relatives and my grandparents when we have the opportunity to go back and visit. The majority of my parents' relatives are all in Taiwan. We do have some cousins here in the United States, but the majority of them are in Taiwan, and there they all learn English in school as well. But I would say we predominantly speak in Mandarin when we are there, and then of course in my not so expansive Mandarin and Taiwanese vocabulary, I end up speaking sentences with like a mix of all 3 languages. But yeah, so that's me. And I thought it would be fun to kind of throw in a couple fun facts about me to open up this episode, since I thought about doing that in the last one and I just had like so many notes on different things that I wanted to talk about that it kind of didn't happen. And then another one I wanted to share is that I only cook rice in a rice cooker, specifically a 大桶 rice cooker. It's very simple in the sense that there's like one button to press down and it's just on or off. And then when it's done, it flips up and it's on warm. And it's an electric rice cooker that you plug in. And that's how I cook rice. I don't know how to cook it on the stove. I think I learned in school, but it seems so much fussier. Like you could burn it, or the liquid's not enough, or whatever the case may be. But yes, I cook rice in a rice cooker, specifically a 大同 stainless steel rice cooker. It is the one that my parents have used, my grandparents have used, not that specific one, but the brand of it. And yeah, so that's what I use. And I'll like insert maybe a stock photo of it here up on the screen. So look up if you are curious what that looks like. Another thing I thought I would share is that I learned how to knit, crochet, and sew from my mom. She taught me at a very young age, probably in grade school. And maybe at some points, maybe I didn't do it as often, but it's always been something that's been part of my life as long as I can remember. And I have passed that on to my 2 young children. So I've taught them how to crochet. They can do mostly like a chain, and I've taught them needle felting, and they can use a circular loom to make like a hat or a scarf or whatever attention span they have for it. I've taught the older one how to use knitting needles. We've tried them on metal and bamboo, straight and circular. The youngest one, she's 5, so she has a harder time with the knitting because there's a few more steps than just like crocheting a chain. But she's really good at finger knitting or finger weaving. And they've learned to do weaving on like a loom. We have one where there's little pegs that you can stick into holes and create different shapes or dimensions, and then you can make it into whatever size or shape that you want to. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, so it's just something that's being creative is just part of our lives. I was raised to be resourceful and creative with solutions and projects, and my mom is the type of person that can make anything out of nothing, if that makes any sense. Or maybe not out of nothing, but anything out of anything. So we grew up with her hemming our clothes or making our clothes, and to this day she still uses like boxes of random things to use as, she'll turn them into like a pencil or pen container thing and have like separate different containers that she's collected to house different things. And my mom is where I get my organization and efficiency from. Not saying my dad isn't organized or efficient, but my mom definitely takes the prize for that. Yeah, so that's a little bit more about who I am. And yeah, so thank you for listening. All right, I'm back. I had to take care of one of the children, had a bloody nose. And yeah, so I steeped a new mug of tea. I am drinking a decaf black tea with cinnamon, cloves, and orange, which seems very autumnal, which I don't mind because I'm kind of an autumn year-round person. So cheers to hot tea. It's a little bit too hot right now, so I'm just gonna set it down here. Yeah, so let's start with what I am wearing. I knit this maybe 2 years ago now, a year and a half. I think I finished it September 2020, I think. You know, the year 2020 was such a blur, and 2021 is proving not to be a ton different, and it's almost halfway over. So whenever I knit this, it is the Super Simple Summer Sweater by designer Joji Locatelli. I'll stand up so you can see it a little bit better. I'll move my chair back. It is a striped sweater designed to be long sleeved. I knit mine a little bit longer, so mine goes past the hip. Here's the top of my hip bone, and there's a split hem, It is knit top down. It's a round yoked sweater. The original pattern is written for worsted weight in like I think a cotton wool blend. I knit mine in a DK weight, and I still knit the smallest size, I believe, and then I just increased my needle size. I just upped my needle size by 1 size. So I knit mine in like a speckly cream color, and then like a chartreuse tonal semi-solid color, and I really like how it turned out. What I'm really enjoying about knitting some of my own sweaters is that I can make the sleeves long enough. Because I typically wear like an XS or S women's, the sleeves always end up being a little too short. They might be more like bracelet length or almost 3/4, but not supposed to be 3/4, so they just look too short. But when I'm knitting my own, I can make them plenty long. And what I really like is I can stick my arms out and the sleeve won't go way up. And when I'm not sticking my arms out, because I don't usually walk with my arms sticking out, it's still at a very comfortable length. I love it. It is a really comfortable sweater to just throw on over. I don't remember how much ease I knit it with. I'm feeling like it might be 2, 3, 4 inches of positive ease, but that's just me guessing. I don't really know. But anyway, super comfortable, and it's a well-written pattern. Let's chat about some finished projects. So I actually have several pairs of socks, but one of them I'm going to wait until it gets released to talk about. And then I have, I finished my Odds and Ends cardigan test knit by Tina Say, but that isn't releasing until I think early June or so. So I'm gonna hold off talking about that, but I'm really excited about it because it is so cozy and comfy for our chilly mornings, chilly evenings, and I took some finished project photos of it and I love it. I'm looking over here because it's over here. I'll show you a sleeve. It's so nice. It's so cozy. And speaking of sleeves being long enough, these are definitely long enough. I made them long. So I love it. I can tuck my hands in and oh, that's so nice. So there's your sneak peek. All right, so 2 things that I can't talk about, but 2 things that I can talk about are 2 pairs of socks. So the first one I'll talk about are the Socks Exploration Shadow Wrap Heel Socks by Denise of Earth Tones Girl. So I had the opportunity to test knit these for her. They are her like a longer vanilla sock pattern. This will be her second pattern out. And then the part that the testers were specifically testing was this shadow wrap heel. So she has video tutorials up for this, and in the pattern it'll link you to the video tutorial. So the instructions are still written out, but if you need another way of learning or like visual cues and someone talking you through it, she has video tutorials made, linked in the pattern. It is a short row heel, and it uses like twin stitches but also triplet stitches. So triplet stitches are new to me. They are not hard to do, and yeah, it was really fun and quick. And as with short row heels, you don't actually increase the number of stitches in this heel section. You're just working to make this pocket here, which can be great for making, like using self-striping yarns. I made up my own stripes in this sock. So I used a set of mini skeins dyed by River of a Knitter's Homestead, and I will link to her website in the description box below. It was a mystery set, but I like her aesthetic and I went for it, and I love it so much. So there are sparkles in some of the yarns and not in others, and I thought it worked really well together. So I started on my cuff with this purple, and then I went to this lighter pink, and then I put in this blue speckle next to it, went down to a kind of a foresty green with purple, and then a spring green with gold sparkle in it, and then start it over again. And then the way I managed my yarn for the heel is I knit about halfway through the number of rounds for that stripe, did the heel, finished off the stripe, and then kept going. These fit really well, and I love them. They're so fun. So the benefit of doing your own striping socks with separate yarns is that you can, customize stuff in there as you want. With a self-striping yarn, what works is that then you can decide if you want to insert your heel in the middle of a stripe, you want to do it between stripes, you want to put in another contrast. There's just a lot of options there as well. The thing is, if you're going to do like a heel flap and gusset, that alters the number of stitches you have in that section. So if you're using a self-striping yarn, those stripes after that gusset are going to be narrower than the ones in your leg, and then they'll slowly get back to what they were in the leg because you're decreasing the stitches in your gusset as you go. Now in this case, that won't happen because you aren't increasing or decreasing the number of stitches. You're working these short rows over the heel, and the number of stitch count remains the same. So yeah, these are my beautiful socks exploration shadow wrap heel socks, and I highly recommend going to go check out Earth Tones Girl. Her YouTube channel explains so much about sock knitting. I've mentioned her many times here before, and I believe the sock pattern is $5, so go check that out. The next pair of socks I'd like to share with you are my Forest Fruit socks. I knit these out of my Farmer's Daughter Fiber Sock Squad sock set. Say that 10 times fast. This is maize color, and it is in her Bear Paw sock base, which is a merino yak nylon blend. And oops, I have an end sticking out here. Oh well. These colorwork socks are the Forest Fruit socks by designer Sachiko, and I'll put her information up on the screen here. So there's this teal as the main color, and then a coppery brown that I used for the color work and for the heel. And the pattern, the heel is done in the same as the main color, but I wanted to use more of this coppery brown. I did not use it in the toe. I just didn't feel like switching colors. I had enough left though. So this pattern is written in only one size. So she recommends changing your needles to alter your gauge to change the size. I had to do a little bit more than that, so I did go down a needle size to US 0 or 2 millimeters, and that actually worked out pretty well because I don't find this particular yarn very plump or fluffy. It's kind of more compact, I guess. So using a US 0 worked out actually really well. It didn't end up being really stiff or too tight of a gauge, but you can see that it's a pretty tight gauge. And then what I did was I cast on a few less stitches, and then right before the colorwork section I increased to the number of stitches I needed to complete the colorwork chart. And then after I finished the colorwork chart, I went back down to the number of stitches I wanted to, did the leg, did my heel flap and gusset, and then decreased back down to the number of stitches that I wanted for the foot. So that's how I customized this for fit, and they fit really well. I really enjoy wearing them. I really like how the merino yak blend almost gives it a heathered look, because the yak naturally has a brown gray base, and then dyed over it, it is not flat at all. You can see there's kind of some variation in it, which gives it a beautiful heathered look that I really like. And I love this coppery brown. It's so pretty. Let's see if it'll focus there. So yeah, these are my socks. I shared some photos of this on my Instagram at edible.thoughts.makes of me wearing the socks. And because they are also at a denser, or not necessarily a denser gauge is why, but because they fit really well, I usually prefer my socks with a little more negative ease than not. I can wear them in shoes that are pretty fitted comfortably, and so those are on my Instagram if you want to go check that out. So next time, hopefully I will get to share with you my other color work socks that I knit. Those are the Arctic Spring Socks by the Petite Knitter by Wei Qian. And the test knit was one that I completed in 1 week, and they are tricolor socks. So I haven't done tricolor stranded color work in a while, but yeah, so I'll talk more about that next time. But yes, aren't they so cute? All right, so I have a few works in progress to share with you. I believe 2 of them I shared with you last time that I had started, and one of them is a new one. So this is in a plaid flannel bag that I sewed last year or the year before. And these are housing some socks that I'm knitting for my husband. I talked a little bit about it last time, and I believe I had just passed the cuff and I was in the leg. I am knitting these out of Patton's Croy sock yarn that comes in 50 grams. And I just have 2 of them going. And this color is called Cadet. It is a really beautiful marled, heathered gradation all together. I was center pulling and it was getting kind of loose, so I rolled them into their own individual balls. You can see how it's kind of marled looking, so it's got blues and grays in it. And now I am past the leg, past the heel flap and gusset, and working on the foot. So I did a 2x2 rib. Actually, you know what? Let me get out my notes here so I can tell you the numbers exactly. I am not following a specific pattern, so I can tell you whatever I want about them. I am using a US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter needle because the yarn I'm using I feel like is a little bit closer to sport weight. I probably could have used a US 2 if I wanted to, but it's a nice dense fabric that isn't too stiff. So I did an old Norwegian cast on, or also known as a German twisted cast on, and I did 64 stitches on the US 1.5. I feel like the 64 stitches on a slightly bigger needle works well for my husband's feet. He has a 9.5 inch foot circumference, but again, I probably could have used a US 2 if I wanted to, but these aren't super high socks. He doesn't particularly like the legs of his socks really long. So I feel like these should still fit okay. We'll find out. But I did a knit 2, purl 2, which is also known as the 2x2 ribbing, for 15 rounds. And then I did 30 rounds for the leg. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, I was going to follow the Vanilla Latte Socks pattern, which is a free pattern. But the purl channels in that one are a broken rib, so you have like purling one round and then knit the next round in that channel. And when I got to that alternating one, I forgot and I just kept purling in the purl channels, so I'm not really following that pattern anymore. Or from the beginning I wasn't then. So I am doing the, is it knit 6, purl 2? 2, 4, 6, yeah, knit 6, purl 2 throughout. And then I did a heel flap, turn and gusset, and now the bottom is just stockinette, and then the top has that ribbing. And then I did center it by moving, I think I moved my beginning of the round over a couple of stitches, I can't really remember, I think 3 stitches, so that it was divided in between the knit section. Maybe that's what I did. I don't actually remember. I think so. Yeah, there are 3 knit stitches after my beginning of round. So yeah, I shifted it over a little bit so that it would be centered. Yeah, so these are just going. These are great socks that I can be playing Connect 4 with the 5-year-old and doing puzzles and stuff because I don't have to think too hard about it. And I'm hoping to have these done maybe by Father's Day? I don't know. I don't remember when Father's Day is. June, middle of June something. So I think I should be able to have them done by then. As usual, I am knitting my socks 2 at a time on their own needles, on their own 9-inch circulars. I'm farther along on this sock than the other one. I use light bulb progress keepers to mark every 10th round. And yeah, so I think this one I might only have like 10 or so more rounds before I start the toe. But yeah, so maybe I'll give this one a little love to catch up to the other sock. But yeah, I can totally finish these in the next couple of weeks. So that's the plan for these socks. Oh, and I think for the toe, I'm gonna switch it to this gold color. This is a Knit Picks Hawthorne in Compass. Similar weight as the Patton's Croix, so I think it'll work out well for the toe. It's a super sunny tonal yellow. I was kind of joking with him that I'm making him like gold toe socks. I don't remember if gold toe is the brand or the type of socks for a particular brand of socks, but there's these white socks with gold toes, and so I was joking that these were going to be his hand knit gold toe socks. So by the next time, maybe these ones will be finished. We'll see. Okay, the next work in progress I'd like to share with you is in this beautiful bag, fabric by Cecilia Muck, Asian Australian illustrator, and I love this bag so much. Let's see. So in this project bag, I have my grain shawl. Designer is Tin Can Knits. It is a free pattern. It is a pattern that's written for many different yarn weights, and they give you the suggested needle size for it as well. Let me find my page of notes for that one. All right, here it is. I didn't write very much, so that probably wasn't necessary, but I am doing it DK weight, fingering held double. Pattern recommends using US 7. I went up to US 8 because I wanted a slightly looser gauge. And I am holding yarns dyed by my friend Christina Teal Torch Knits. So the main, well, not main color, is just 2 strands, but I'm holding this creamy color throughout, and there's like rainbow neon speckles in it. And then last time I shared this with you, I had all the minis in a little bag, and they were just kind of getting tangled on each other. Well, I made a magic knot ball, so they're all knotted together and wound up into a giant ball. I shared a little bit about my thoughts on this on my Instagram. It's my first time making a magic knot ball, and I'm not sure I would be comfortable using it in like a sweater when joining yarns, or definitely not socks, because there's so much friction. I feel like the knot could come out, and I'm fine weaving in ends, so that's not the part that bothers me, because I would just like weave in ends as I go. But because in this shawl it's DK weight, so fingering held double, it's marled, if a knot came loose, it's not like my entire project is going to come unraveled. It'll still be held on by the other one, which doesn't have a knot in it. So yeah, it's an experiment to see how it goes, but what's nice is now I don't have to think about what color is coming next. My yarns aren't going to get tangled in my bag, and it was actually really fun making this ball. So look up on YouTube, there's tons of tutorials for magic knot ball. There are photo tutorials, you can just look that up as well. And I have a little video of me doing it on my Instagram, but it's not like a step-by-step written out tutorial. You can look at it as a refresher, or maybe just to kind of see what it's all about. But if you want a more step-by-step tutorial, I suggest looking that up. So yeah, this is super fun. Let me show you where I'm at. It is a triangular garter shawl. There's no front, like right side, wrong side. Here's where I'm at. Isn't that so fun? I don't know if it's getting blown out at all. Lighting is a little bit tricky today. But on here, I have a Progress Keeper by my friend Denise of Earth Tones Girl. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It'll be reflecting. I'll read it out to you. It says, "Do small things with great love." I believe she's having a shop update soon, so you'll want to check out her website, which I will link below. And she's making these motivational markers, which is so great. It's like she's cheering you on every stitch of the way, and it's a good reminder. So do small things with great love. It's beautiful. I love it. So yes, I am just getting to this turquoise tealy section, and it's really fun. So I'm holding it upside down right now, but it's marling beautifully. There are these rainbow neon speckles over the whole thing. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but this shawl is for my kids. I say kids because they'll likely both end up using it, and if I only give it to one, then the other one will be mad, so we'll see how well they take turns with it. But yeah, so that one is kind of an ongoing, no deadline. just kind of a fun, also one that I can do while playing Connect 4. Do you sense a theme here? I think most of my projects that have had to use up a little more brain power are either on hibernation mode right now, or I have to either work on really early in the morning or really late at night, because otherwise there's just more opportunity to mess up, get frustrated, have to rip back, have to frog. None of those things I really enjoy. So instead, I'm just going to focus on things that I can do at whatever particular time. And yeah, it makes me happy and less stressful, right? I don't want it to be stressful. The last work in progress I'd like to share with you is a new cast on from last time. So my friend Cam of Hand Knit by Cam and Manda of Little Bitty Delights. Shoot, I probably should have made sure I had those right before I said it. Let me see here. I got them right. Okay, so they are hosting a knit along for one of Cam's, I think it's her first, it was her first pattern that she had released. And this knit along is called the Robin's Nest KAL, and I'll put that hashtag up on the screen if you want to check it out. And the shawl that everybody is encouraged to knit together is called the Nido shawl. Nido means nest in Spanish. Let me just read out what Cam wrote on her Instagram post for this knit along. It says, the Nido shawl was inspired by spring and nature. Nido is the word in Spanish for nest. The shawl is designed in a simple crescent shape, playing with 2 different colors to create texture and add some intricacy to the shape. The border is a simple lace pattern, which makes the shawl look airy and feminine. I'll show you her photo here. Let me see if I can get it to show. Isn't that so pretty? But yeah, so I have it in a bag that I think I mentioned in the last episode. This is another Cecilia mock fabric that I sewed into a project bag. It's so cute. I love the bunnies, and it's so springy. And then because I used a fat quarter on the side, I used the remaining fabric and made like a little pouch, which is really useful for holding my like yarn tags. If I'm doing sock knitting, it actually holds like one sock really easily in here for just like throwing into a bag if I'm not going to take an entire project bag with me. So the yarns I'm using, this Tweedy Lavender dyed by River of a Knitter's Homestead. And I have that paired with a beautiful pale yellow that has orange and blue in it, dyed by Colleen of Little Lion Head Knits. And they are both beautiful yarns and paired together. So pretty. So I'll show you what I've got so far. I don't have a ton on this yet. I've had a lot of test knits that have had deadlines that I just needed to get done. I have a progress keeper on here that is a little house that says home. I thought it was very fitting for a shawl that's called a nest. So this is what I've got so far. It's just the beginnings, but I love how the colors are working together. I think complementary colors work really well together. I love how it's working out. The striping is fun, the garter is great. I love a good garter shawl, and I think it'll end up being very wearable. So that's all I've got for that. I believe the knit along goes until the end of June, so if you are interested, I recommend you checking it out, and you can go ahead and check out the hashtag to see what other color combinations people are using, and add it to your own project if you decide to join. Okay, I think that is it for my projects. Let me take a sip of tea. I think it should not be too hot anymore. So good. Alright, so I had recently picked up a bunch of books from the library. Our library isn't open for everybody to just like go in and browse, but you can request books on hold and then go pick them up. So I picked up 3 books. I don't have them in front of me right now. I think 2 of them are on my nightstand, but I just finished the book Love in Color, Mythical Tales from Around the World Retold, and the author is Bolu Babalola. She is a British Nigerian journalist and writer, and I loved this book. What is really cool about it is that, so it's a collection of short stories that she has kind of rewritten, and so it's great to read just like a little bit here and there. I think I was reading like maybe 2 or 3 a night, and they're captivating. The descriptive language just kind of, you get lost in it, and oh, it's so good. Even in like just a short amount of pages, there's such a sense of the character, and at the end it leaves you wanting more, but at the same time satisfied because you get it, and oh, it's so good. So she has on the back her sources of inspiration, which are like old folk tales or legends that she has based her stories off of. And she had mentioned at one point that some stories in the past were very patriarchal, and that wasn't the type of legend that she wanted to like retell. So although she based her story off of it, her stories are very empowering and female oriented. Like the voices of females, the voices of women are strong. There are no like damsels in distress here is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, they're so good. So just to tell you a little bit, some of the stories are based out of legends and tales from Nigeria, Persia, Egypt, Ghana, Senegal, Greece, Lesotho, China, and Mesopotamia, and I just really like it. I thought it was really, really good. Here is the book cover. I don't know if there's too much glare. If there's too much glare, I will put up a stock photo of the book cover on the screen here. So I really recommend that book. The next one I'm reading is Pachinko, which I had shared about it on Instagram, and a lot of people have said it is a really good read. So I'm really looking forward to that. I have started, I think, the first chapter. I think I just read the first chapter last night, and I couldn't put it down, but I needed to go to sleep. So I am really looking forward to reading through that book. I think our library gives us 21 days for our checkouts, and of course when I requested all these books, they all came at the same time, and so either I have to read them all in 3 weeks or hope that I can renew some of them, or at least, you know, check them back in and check them back out later. But that is what I'm reading. Are you reading any good books right now, or have a list of summer reads that you would like to get to? I would love to hear about them below. If you want to share the titles of what you are reading or interested in reading, maybe other people can check them out as well. I would also love to know what's on your needles, what are you working on. It's just kind of fun to hear what people are up to. Do you have a favorite beverage right now? Like, I may not love like hot cinnamon tea when it's 85 degrees out, but on a cold, rainy day, I think it was like in the 40s this morning. I'm not very good at converting Fahrenheit to Celsius, so yeah, 40s Fahrenheit this morning. It was pretty chilly and it's raining, so. But I believe it's gonna warm up again. We really did need the rain. The plants all seem to grow like a foot overnight if it rains, so. Yeah, I think, I'm gonna check my notes here. I think that is everything that I wanted to cover today. I hope you are doing well. I hope the weather is enjoyable where you are. I won't say great because I don't know, some people don't think rainy days are great, but some people do. So I hope it's enjoyable where you are. And cheers to being creative, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.